If you can hear background noise, I'm sorry. But I finally got around to watching the second episode of season 2 of Vikings. And while it wasn't as much of a game changer as the premiere, it was still pretty solid. It actually fixed one or two of the problems that I had last time around. But the plot of this episode is basically they're going on their raid. Ragnar has supposedly united Jarl Borg and King Horik, and he's supposedly going to take both of them and their armies with him on his new raid. It skips ahead 4 years after the end of the last episode, so Ragnar has no idea where his first wife is, Lagertha. He has no idea where his son is, who is supposedly with Lagertha, although we don't see either of them in this episode, which kind of disheartens me because honestly, Lagertha is probably my favorite character. But I digress. But as the human animal is likely to do, immediate greed overcomes long-term ambition for Ragnar's followers. So basically, throughout this episode, he is constantly getting screwed over. I mean, there is a lot of subterfuge in this episode, and I really like that it sets up what could potentially be Ragnar's downfall, because he is trusting a lot of people to honor their words, and I think that's one of his weaknesses, is that he's too trusting. But yeah, the acting is still fairly solid. I mean, Travis Fimmel and Clive Stanton are still very good as Ragnar and Rollo, and it was interesting to see how their relationship has certainly changed in the 4 years, because Rollo has essentially been kind of a drunk. He's been kind of a recluse. Because even though Ragnar let him live after his betrayal, he's kind of been alienated because no one wants to be around him. No one wants to be around the traitor, which is understandable. But yeah, I was interested to see how for the first time in 4 years, they're trying to mend fences. And I liked the fact that Rollo. What I really like about this relationship is, and what really sets it apart from other relationships like this in entertainment, is that you can tell that both of them really love each other. Neither of them want this spite between them, and Rollo is genuinely regretful for his actions. He wants to get back into Ragnar's good favor. He wants forgiveness. He wants to be accepted back as a shield brother. So him finally kind of asking Ragnar, please, I want to fight alongside you again. That felt like a really sincere moment, and what actually got me, what actually had me like, oh, I didn't see that coming, was actually Ragnar's answer to whether or not he can come on the raid with them. Ragnar refuses. Because what I thought he was going to do, I thought they were going to immediately mend all the fences, and Ragnar was just going to let him come along on the raid and say like, you will prove yourself in battle or something. But no, he's like, I accept you back as my brother, but I forbid you to come raiding with us. And basically that makes a lot of sense, because I too would want some time before I would really start trusting this guy again. I mean, the audience knows he's sincere, or at least that's the impression we're getting at this point. But I'm really interested to see where that goes. Also, the two kings, not kings. There's Jarl Borg and King Horik, the two leaders who extremely distrust each other. Now, Now Ragnar forbidding his own brother to come along prompts King Horik to basically say, you know what, I'm on second thought, I'm not all right with that Jarl coming with us, because I really don't trust him. So Ragnar is forced to tell the Jarl, he's forced to tell him at the last minute, like on the day of the raid. Ragnar basically says to him, look, you can't come with us. I'm sorry. It's out of my hands. Although that's actually one problem, is that wouldn't he try to fix this? Wouldn't he try to mend this relationship? I mean, strategically it makes sense in every respect, because that gives you the advantage of having two armies, or three armies counting your own. That gives you the advantage of having larger numbers for your raid, and B, it prevents Jarl Borg from betraying you later. Of course, Jarl Borg does not take this well, and he basically tries to go back to Rollo, the person who helped him before, and says, like, Ragnar has not changed. Ragnar, you will never get anywhere if you stay with Ragnar. Abandon him for good. And Rollo, again, surprising me, flatly refuses. That's all I'm going to say about this scene. He refuses. He makes a hostile refusal to the Jarl's offer. And again, that unexpected twist is a twist in the sense that it abandons the trope, or the cliche, as it were, that you would normally see with a character like this in this type of situation. Because normally with a character like this, who has a history of betrayal, you would think that they would go right back to the betrayal. You would think they would go right back to their foul deeds. But again, adding to the likability of Rollo in comparison to characters like Anakin Skywalker, I think really helps this show, and I really, like I said, I'm really interested to see where the character of Rollo goes, and also the character of Ragnar goes, because he's losing allies. He's kind of like Ned Stark in season 1 of Game of Thrones. Although Ragnar is definitely more bloodthirsty than Ned Stark, but it was a really cool moment, or a tragically cool moment, when the Vikings were basically ambushed when they got to Hessex. Or is that the name of the place they landed in? I don't know, but the point is again, things aren't going so well for Ragnar, at least not in comparison to how they went in season 1. He gets redirected because of a storm, and they end up in the kingdom of King Egbert. And something that this episode sets up that actually ends it on a very interesting cliffhanger is that supposedly King Egbert is, quote unquote, just like Ragnar. So A, that gives us an interesting point of reference for the villain, and B, that makes it all the more intriguing to see how these two characters will conflict with each other. I'm very interested to see how Ragnar is going to deal with this threat, and who's going to come out on top. Because the king already got the drop on Ragnar. Sure, Ragnar came out victorious again, and that was a very well done fight scene, by the way. Again, fixing the problem that I had in the first episode where they're filmed too close up. No, here it's shot very clearly with only the occasional shot of shaky cam. But the fighting still feels very real. It still feels very visceral. And I liked the implementation of a misdirected battle strategy. Because basically what the Vikings do they form a circular shield wall, and then once it looks like they're completely outflanked, Ragnar's like, open, and they open one portion of the shield wall to let in the enemy, and then they immediately turn around and suddenly they have the enemy outflanked. So that was a really smart move, and that was a really unexpectedly brilliant battle tactic. Now I am by no means well versed in Vikings or their culture or their tactics in battle, but that seemed pretty legitimate. It seemed like a strategy that would be employed in real life. And going back to how the fight scenes feel real, that's another thing that supports their realism, is that they're using strategies that could conceivably be used, or that would have been conceivably used in the time period. So I'm really liking season 2 of this show, and what it has in comparison to season 1 is that it basically has this initial momentum, that whereas season 1 I think took a while to get going. Once it got going, it was actually pretty good. But season 1, it was a lot of setup. It was a lot of difference of opinion, and it kind of took a while to really, or not a while, but it took a few episodes to really take off. With season 2, no, they're hitting the ground running, and I think that really works to the show's advantage, in my opinion, because right at this point we know these characters, we know what they're about, and we can work to advance their characters. Now, one thing that I did have, or a few things that I have an issue with, Ragnar's new wife. I gotta check her name real quick. Aslaug, the Alyssa Sutherland character. I'm sorry. She not only can I still not understand leaving his first wife for her, but also she looks and sounds, she seems completely distrustworthy. I mean basically she, everything out of her mouth seems like some sort of seduction or deception. I don't buy anything that's coming out of her mouth, and it's not that she's a bad actress, but I don't know. Are they trying to make her manipulative 24/7? I don't know. But also, I think she's a bit of a hypocrite, and I think Ragnar should have called her out on this hypocrisy, because he gets one of the young servant girls, or maybe not servant girls, I don't know. He gets a younger girl to bring him some food or bring him a drink or whatever at a banquet, and he kind of exchanges a few words with her, and then immediately his wife is on his case. She's like, how are you flirting with young girls when I'm pregnant with your third son? And I'm just like, I'm just watching this show going, wow. Considering how you got to be here, I don't really think I would be talking. I mean, I don't really think you have any room to talk about Ragnar's marital loyalty, because you know better than anyone how weak-willed he is when it comes to women. But aside from that, Siggy, the character of Siggy, the wife of the late Gabriel Byrne character from season 1. Now I never completely understood why she stayed on in season 1. Maybe it's because she felt she had nothing left to live for. But when you see her plotting against Ragnar in this episode, I never really understand why she's doing this. It's hinted, that maybe she wants to get back in power, and I suppose that makes sense because she's convinced Rollo to go and seek Ragnar's favor again. So maybe I'm just predicting what her plan might be. Maybe her plan is to get Rollo back into Ragnar's favor, back to where he's basically the second in command, and then she plots to have Ragnar killed somehow, and then Rollo and her would be in charge. Again, I'm explaining more than the show does, because that's purely speculation based on a hint. But hopefully that will be elaborated on. And one final nitpick I have is that Catherine McPhee was not in this episode. Not Catherine McPhee. Catherine Winnick. Catherine McPhee is not a very good actress, but Catherine Winnick was not in this episode as Lagatha. She's in the next episode. She was in the promo for the next episode, but she's not in this one, so that kind of saddens me because, again, Lagatha is my favorite character. But again, this is a fairly solid episode. The action was good. The acting was good. I liked the real momentum that this show seems to have gained right off the bat in the second season, and with this new threat of King Egbert looming on, it'll be very interesting to see how the show proceeds from here. Could Ragnar die? Will they make fun of King Egbert's name because it sounds like Egbert? I don't know, but now I really want to play the game Egbert.